So the Despicable Me series is like pretty lambasted online. It's generally known as like the bottom of the barrel, like general audience schmuck. You know, Illumination as a company has an extremely poor reputation, especially on YouTube. The general audience, like people point out how these films have like, big box office numbers, but like, have you ever like watched a movie with someone? I feel like people are generally down to see movies that aren't, like the greatest fucking thing in the world. People kind of acknowledge that movies are shitty. Like I watched Anaconda the other day, the remake. I went into it thinking it was going to be bad. I was actually surprised though. I thought it was okay. That was pretty funny. But Illumination, the company, I'm not going to talk about it much by itself, but it's known for like relying on like super cheap animation, like big celebrity names, and like just like kind of like toilet humor, or not even just toilet humor. That's like mostly Minions. Just a lot of like, just kind of bottom of the barrel, like lowbrow stuff, and it's not like jokes that are simple or jokes that are more crude, like quote unquote lowbrow, can't be funny, but it's not like they're like super clever or like even like particularly absurd in most scenarios. And their first film, their debut, was Despicable Me, which I think had a pretty smart typecast of the main character, because a lot of the people who had younger kids during 2010 when it came out, 16 fucking years ago by the way, was millennials. Millennials were having kids, and having Steve Carell, the office man, play the main character was low-key pretty smart. But I don't think people really look into these movies too deeply. I've seen a couple videos of like recommendation while I was studying this, talking about that. But I don't think people generally look into these movies as like art, or like try to like really unearth any like messages or like what's really going on in these movies, what really makes them click. And I'm just here to do that today. So let's just like roll right into the fucking first one. I'm not gonna be talking about the spin-offs. So Despicable Me 1 is a very interesting movie. As Illumination's debut, it did extremely well, and you know what, I'm going to blow my load here and say the reason it did extremely well is because it low-key copied Shrek. Like, the parallels there are a little too suspicious for me. Like, the whole Shrek is like a bit of an underdog character. He's not your like traditional Disney type fuck. He's not your really normal antagonist, and I think they were clearly trying to do the same thing with Gru, as in, he's a villain. And I think that really put a good twist on it. Maybe not a super interesting one, but, it was clearly what they were trying to do to stand out. And honestly, in this case, I think it works extremely well in the first movie's favor. I think Gru as a character is the best part of the whole series, specifically in 1. He's actually, as a character, he's one of my least favorite aspects of the sequels, but in the first one, I think he works very well. Also, Steve Carell does a funny voice when he voices Gru, which also gives off like Mike Myers doing the Scottish accent for Shrek. I think they were definitely going for a similar thing there. Not to like disrespect it, although like Gru's accent is like genuinely bizarre and a little bit inconsistent throughout the series. Especially as Steve Carell gets a little older, but I think it's fine. The way he says "gorls" is funny. Gru as a character, he's a villain, and I think that works like greatly in the first movie's favor. I love the way villainy is portrayed as just like a regular career path in this franchise. He's just kind of like almost like a Greg Heffley type role, like a petulant douchebag who like is cruel to others, but really only does that to make up for how poor and shitty and devoid of joy and love his own life is. Like, definitely more in Gru's case than Greg. But obviously, Greg's a fucking middle schooler, so. But, Gru often uses his power as a villain to do very vapid things. He can't do big, like, showstopper crimes like Vector. He usually just kind of fucks with people, like when he messes with the kid in the intro, or, like, cuts the line at the coffee shop. And I think the Gru being a huge asshole sets the movie up for, like, a pretty sweet message, honestly, about like the redemptive power of family and love, and how like parenthood can change you and make you mature. Especially since they really hammer home how much of a loser Gru is in the first half. Like, this is in the second movie, but in a flashback, he gives a girl flowers, and she says, they yell at the girl who got the flowers. They said she has Grooties, and they all run away from her. They literally invented a fucking disease because they hate Gru so much. Like, he's never got any pussy in his whole life, and it's implied he's like 50 or something. So Gru is not on top of the world. And I think, I'll talk about this in a bit, but I think that really sets him up for a good rivalry with Vector, the best villain of the 4 movies. But also, it makes a lot of the gags at Gru's expense, which are very common throughout all 4 movies, much funnier in the first one because it's like that sense of catharsis, just like Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Like, when something bad happens to Gru, especially at the girl's expense, it's pretty funny because Gru is a dick, and you don't really care that much when bad things happen to him when he's acting like an asshole, especially since he generally escalates all of the problems, and it's almost always his own fault. He's also, like, quite a bit, like, more deranged in the first movie, even, like, compared to, like, him in the later movies, and even, like, other similar, like, anti-hero characters. He's, like, the big thing I'm thinking of is, like, when Edith gets shut in the Iron Maiden, and, like, they think she died, and he's just fine with it, like, that like, sure, that's, like, not, like, the most crazy, dark shit in the world that'll have you rattling in your bones, but, like, compared to, like, how ridiculously sanitized, this series is, it's actually, like, pretty out of pocket. Like, same with the implication that Gru wanted to take the girls to the theme park, literally just so he could put them on a roller coaster and leave them behind, which is, like, I guess if you looked at it realistically, that's a pretty horrible fucking thing to do to orphans. And I think Gru bonding with the girls is pretty naturally done. You know, he has a pretty good arc, and I think tying that in with Vector and how he has to, like, overcome his ability to one-up him and, like, feel superior to younger people by, like, big material goals, by, like, finding happiness with his family. Although, because it's a kid's movie, obviously, he does get to get his revenge against Vector in the end by beating his ass because Vector escalates the plot, but also, you know, that's just a fun climax, you know. Speaking of Vector, Vector is really meant to escalate the plot and just, like, show Gru kind of what he wants to be, but also, like, the flaws in that ideal. Vector is an extremely successful younger villain, but I feel like they also do hammer home how pathetic and how much of a loser Vector is. You know, while he is trying to steal the moon as well, and he steals the pyramid, which is the crime of the century, he's still a loser. He's like a trust fund kid. He's younger than Gru. He's outpacing Gru. And he's doing very well in life with these material goals, but it's implied, you know, he's a geek. He's like super dorky. He humiliates himself often, and, you know, it seems he takes a bit more pleasure in doing sheer evil than Gru, and, like, definitely has less limits because he gets more caught up in the material aspects of it. And I think the parallel here is a bit obvious. You know, Vector is almost like a younger college kid, like, really hitting his stride in his field, and Gru is a bit of a has-been, but Gru finds, you know, more important things in his life to find fulfillment. And Gru learns that he needs to grow up and not end up like Vector, who will probably stay forever young anyways due to the money, power, wealth, and influence of his parents. Also, Vector's attitude and his personality just make him really funny. He has a lot of really iconic moments, you know, the fucking committing crimes, both direction and attitude. He's super memorable, and I like how he serves as more of a rival to Gru than a villain, especially since Gru kind of, like, almost in, like, a Mr. Incredible versus Syndrome kind of way, initiates the conflict in the beginning, which I think is good because, you know, it's good when the main character drives home the plot. As for everyone else, the one character who is, like, super underused in the latter 3 movies, but is pretty prominent in the first, is Dr. Nefario. Dr. Nefario is a weird character because it's not really implied, like, who he is. Like, he's just, like, Gru's, like, kind of partner that's not the minions. And he stalls the first movie initially because he mishears what Gru says, and he makes goofy devices instead of the devices Gru needs. And then he drives the plot himself later on when he says the girls have to go. I'm actually not a huge fan of that. That's probably the worst part of the movie, is that the two things that, like, cause the big split up in the third act are completely arbitrary. There's no reason Dr. Nefario has to hate the girls as much as he does, and Gru has to go on the moon expedition on that certain day. I wrote in the script that, maybe it's a full moon on the day Gru needs to go up and get it, but, obviously the moon doesn't actually fucking shrink when it's not a full moon, so I don't know why I wrote that. Dr. Nefario, he's extremely mad at Gru during, like, the second half of the movie for being distracted, and not putting all of his attention towards the moon getting and bonding with the girls. And it's never explained why. He seems to go along with the girls fine in the first half of the movie, and in literally every other movie, so it seems super forced and arbitrary. Same with Gru having to get the moon on the girls' dance recital. Like I said, obviously it doesn't matter what fucking phase the moon is in, he can just go up and get it. Also, his name and design, like in Dr. Nefario, his, like, character design is so fucking out of place, dude. I don't know why. He just looks so weird to me. He's, like, super uncanny valley. There's just something about him. The girls themselves, they're definitely at their best in this movie, but I think a problem is that, not in this movie because they're generally treated as a unit, but in the later movies, the fact that they usually all have their own plot line, and there's three of them, really, really inflates some of the B plots of the latter movies. Also, I don't care for Agnes at all. I hate her design. It's also super fucking uncanny to me. She's also clearly just mom bait. Like, oh, she's a little sweet little girl who wants her fucking unicorn. I mean, I guess I don't have an inherent problem with that, but it seems like so ham-fisted. Is it hand-fisted or ham-fisted? Fuck that, I'm cutting this out. And Edith is like... In the early one, she's just kind of like a wacky, like, rambunctious tomboy who just causes havoc. And she's fine, she's just used for gags mostly. And then Margot is like the smart, older, mature one. She's mostly just used as, like, she's like the pathos of the group, like, she's the one who, like, actually bonds with Gru the most as a father, because, as the older one, she can express her feelings more. And, like, actually, like, request their wants and needs. Overall, in Despicable Me 1, I think the characters, specifically Gru, really carries it. Gru and Vector's dynamic is super interesting. It gets fleshed out in a lot of screen time. Vector's introduced super early on, and they have a lot of scenes throughout the whole movie. And I think the fact that this movie is generally, like, kind of slow paced and mostly about the characters is definitely to its benefit. The other three have definitely more defined and more, like, ticking clock plots. So I think the slow pace of this one and just getting to vibe with these characters is really in its favor, and I think really helps the message. The jokes in Despicable Me 1 are okay. I don't think it is a particularly funny movie, although I would say I'm not in its demographic. When it came out, I definitely was, though. I think I was like 3, so I guess I am, but I think, like I said with Gru, I think when you see, like, a cynical asshole character kind of get his comeuppance for being a dick, it's just kind of funny, especially they do it in, like, fairly absurd ways. Also, I love that Gru's mom, like, disapproves of his villainy just because he's bad at it. I think it's very fun and evocative, like, how, like, nobody seems to care that Gru is a villain, like there aren't really police that stop him, I guess. Like, nobody seems to bother him, he just kind of does what he does. I think CinemaSins was like, oh, he lives in a big fucking spooky house in suburbia, but that's, like, really funny. That's, like, obviously the gag. He just lives in a fucking suburb, and he lives in, like, an obviously evil-ass house. Vector is really funny, like I said. And, the flagship of the series that I somehow haven't really mentioned that much yet, the Minions, are fairly low-key in one. They don't really do that much. They're like mostly used to drive the plot. There's, like, one scene where they're alone in the grocery store, but, like, who cares? I think kids would like that scene. But I know in 3 the Minions have their own B plot. In 4 the Minions have their own B plot. In 2 they kind of do, but that also drives the plot. But this is the only one where the Minions are more so used completely in the main plot. While in 3 and 4, like, they're literally completely separate from the message of the group, and then like kind of come in to help a little bit at the end. I really don't have too much to say about Despicable Me 1, or at least too much more. I've been yapping for like fucking 15 minutes now, but I think the plot is pretty simple, and I think it really gets the job done to flesh out Gru's arc as he, learns that there's more important things than the material. And I think the scene that I thought was kind of dumb as a kid that I kind of like now, because I think it ties into the message, is when all the minions start giving up their shit to help Gru achieve his goal. I think it oddly enough like mythologizes the minions and makes him bond with them more and like appreciate the people around him who are trying to just help him and bond with him. But Gru can only see that through the lens of materialistic progress or accomplishment in stealing the moon. And I think it's really cool how he learns, even with the girls, because that's one of the big scenes where he gets to bond with them, or like he comes around to liking them, is when Agnes like gives up her piggy bank. And I just generally think that's a good way to tie into the message. Despicable Me 1 overall is, I think, actually like a pretty good movie. Like, I think it's just entertaining, mostly just because this is like not really relevant to the movie's quality, but to me, like every character design is so uncanny valley that, especially when I'm stoned, like it's just almost magnetically addicted to watch. Like I just love watching it because like Gru and Dr. Nefari look so funny, I just can't look away. But overall, I think it's a movie with a cute message, and I don't have anything more to say about it. But I do say the next ones like are way fucking worse. So Despicable Me 2, as opposed to the relatively focused, like the extremely focused, honestly, first one, is like the most disjointed movie I've ever seen in my fucking life. So Gru is no longer a villain. He's not a villain for the next 3 movies. He doesn't want to. He's getting coaxed into joining the anti-villain league by a girl named Lucy, who is his love interest. And then he kind of joins them, and then they spend the next like 45 minutes lollygagging around in a mall where they are trying to catch a criminal. Gru thinks the criminal is El Macho, the villain, but they go investigate a bunch of other people. But the thing about that is the plot does not go anywhere. They mostly just kind of like putz around, and like Gru tries to. He doesn't really try. Everyone else tries to force him into getting a girlfriend, but then he slowly bonds with Lucy. The mall plot itself is like awful. Like Gru doesn't drive the plot at all. There's like a red herring that gets caught that splits them up and makes Gru sad before he saves Lucy from the real villain El Macho at the end. But Gru doesn't find that red herring. Like he gets. Then he fucking comes back to El Macho party, and he gotta beat El Macho now. This movie also struggles from the fact it has like 30 fucking B plots. Margot has this little love interest thing that just like putzes around and wastes more time in the mall for the girls to do things. Also, it's like made like a moderate deal that the girls have to go to the mall, but like the minions watched them in the first movie, so I really don't know why they couldn't just do that again. There's like literally hundreds of them, and even though they're being taken away, it's implied that there's like still like a moderate amount there. There's at least 2 by the end. Oh, speaking of which, the minions have their own dedicated B plot where they're being taken and turned into fucking purple minions. Put in the purple minion scream. And then El Macho, he says he's going to use them against them, but they're pretty easily turned back to regular minions in one quick action scene. Frankly, I think Gru should have, maybe to up the drama, he should have had to kill his ex-minions and then like get more of them from wherever he got them, but he just like shoots them with his jam. He shoots them with his fucking jam. And also there's like a dating side plot that like ties into the love aspect, and like Gru and Lucy bond over it, but it takes up like a lot of time, and Gru has to buy like a wig, and then there's like a whole date scene. sorry if I'm rambling here, but like watching this movie feels like you're having a fucking stroke because there's so much going on. Um, Overall, it is literally just like super disjointed. It's not like confusing. Like you will grasp the plot because it's very simple, but there's just a bunch of scenes that don't. Although they do loosely tie into the main plot, they're by no means important. So let's just move on to the fucking characters, baby. All right, so one of my big problems that I haven't mentioned yet is Gru is like very sanitized now. Now that he's not a villain anymore, he's just kind of like a douchebag. It's just what he is. He's just Illumination's Grinch, or like the fucking dog from Secret Life of Pets. That's what he is. He's just another like kind of cynical punching bag at the behest of jollier characters. Really, that it's simple, but that's my problem with him. You know, he doesn't really deserve what he usually gets coming to him, even though like the expense of his punishment is typically, or more often in 3 and 4, he is like very often the butt of the joke, and really, I don't really care that much, and it's never that clever or funny. There's Lucy, who's awful. She is just like the quirky mom with the fucking pretzel bag on her head or whatever. She's just kind of wacky and quirky and annoying and crazy. That's what she is. Dr. Nefario leaves at the beginning and betrays Gru and steals his friggin' minions. I think it's implied he does it. I don't think it's ever outright stated. He takes the minions, and then like, even though it's implied he likes the minions, also doesn't he like see them as humans? So like brainwashing them is actually pretty fucking awful on his part. But he only steps in and rejoins Gru when they try to attack the girls, which he didn't like in the last movie. But why doesn't he like the fucking minions, yo? Friggin' packets, man. And then the villain, while El Macho is pretty iconic, and I do think he's kind of funny. He's like this pretty nice, like, Mexican dude. He's just like a little guy. His design is really funny. And I like how suave he is, he's just having fun. But my issue with him is, like, he doesn't really have that good of a relationship to Gru. A pretty big aspect of this movie is Gru is, like, an ex-villain, but now he's a hero. But the thing is, they never do anything with this other than the fact that he knows who El Macho is, which, like, I feel like plenty of ABL agents would have heard of this infamous fucking villain by now. But, I guess that's, like, neither here nor there. The only other interesting thing about El Macho is he's, like, kind of like stereotypically Mexican, which like obviously I'm not like fucking offended by Despicable Me. Like Bluey's probably more likely to offend somebody from one of these movies, but like it's just kind of like weird seeing like slightly older kids movies like use like vaguely racial stereotypes, because I feel like that would not happen today. Like his name is El Macho, like. The flashback scene with him in Mexico is actually kind of funny. Also, he has the little fuckboy son that I mentioned earlier who breaks up with Margot. I just want to mention that, like, in the Despicable Me wiki, it says that Antonio might be dead after Despicable Me 2, which I genuinely find fucking bizarre, because, like, obviously characters in this movie don't die. None of the villains die. Nobody ever gets hurt. Gru gets like a cut in Despicable Me 4, and that's treated as like fucking crazy. But El Macho son obviously didn't die. Also, like, El Macho's volcano stunt is implied to have happened like not super long ago, because he doesn't look that old. So I don't know if like he fucked and had a kid before he did the volcano stunt, and then he somehow got custody back of him. What if he did? That's pretty fucking crazy. The jokes of Despicable Me 2 are genuinely kind of bizarre, because the movie has like nowhere near as many swings as the first movie. I don't think it's like painfully unfunny. Like there's a few gags like with the girls making his dating profile I thought was kind of funny. But overall there's just like less funniness going on, which is weird because even more than other kids movies. I think Despicable Me is definitely like a deliberate a deliberate comedy. It's trying to be funny. Um, and honestly, it like barely feels like it's trying to. There's not as many visual gags, oddly enough, as the first one. El Macho, I like him, but he's not really funny like Vector is. Um, and none of the minion antics, because they just goof around a lot. That's all they do. Um, I do I do think minion moments in the earlier movies that they don't really do anymore because they're pretty separate from the main cast in 3 and 4. That I kind of like early on is when Gru asks them to do something and then they just kind of fuck it up and do it incompetently. You know, like when they're trying to escape El Macho, but the minions can't drive the car because they're too small, so they just kind of like fuck around and they can't get away. You know, I think it's pretty well done. Overall, I think Despicable Me 2 is a pretty major step down from first because of the plot and the characterization. I also think it sucks that it doesn't have a message, and although not every movie needs to have like some sort of message like the first one, you know, I think movies are just more interesting when they do have a message. I think most people agree on that. It's just more fun to have something to dig into and have something to think about. But Gru's like relationship with women, the Gru incel problem, is like not very well done because it's implied Gru has some sort of trauma with women, and that might be something you could like make a movie about or like critique on. Like I don't know, like maybe Gru could talk about the male loneliness epidemic or some shit. But like Gru's situation being that like he is a single father of 3 girls means like I don't think someone like Gru in reality would be that like afraid of women because it's not like he's like widowed or he's had his heart broken. I mean, he had his heart broken in elementary school, but is that really like something to make a movie about, like a theme to tie into? Like, oh shit, man, go get your heart broken in fucking 4th grade, or you're gonna die a virgin. You know, I just don't think it really ties into anything. Like Gru getting a wife, getting married, and finding love. Like he already found love in the first one. That was the whole point. You know, who cares? And like they try to like tie it in with the dating thing about like maybe like you can't force love, or maybe they were trying to go with like maybe even if you think your kids like need another parent, like maybe you should wait till it's comfortable for you and you find real love. But obviously it doesn't go that deep. It like scratches the surface of all these things I brought up, but like it obviously can't delve that deep into any of them. So overall it feels like a movie that's like almost trying to have a message, but it doesn't really say anything at all, especially because there's like these like tearjerker trying ass scenes where Agnes is like, I don't have a mom, but I gotta write my report on having a mom. Which I feel like a real school wouldn't do that, you know. Maybe they'll ask like a question on like a little worksheet about your mom, but like surely schools know that like a fair amount of kids don't have moms, either from single dads or just like widows or divorced, like or whatever. Like I feel like it's super forced, and it's obviously trying to make you feel something, but there's no fucking message, so why should anybody care? Did I mention the worst is yet to come? Here's Despicable Me 3. Despicable Me 3, I think more so than the second one, and just like Illumination's catalog as a whole, is a movie I often see cited as just being fucking awful. Like, I hear people shit on this movie all the time. Like, I think it's like, just the premise alone is just like, so like almost like grossly lazy. Like it's just Gru finds out he has a twin bro. Like that's the plot of like a 22-minute Simpsons episode, not a movie. And they do like nothing with it. And I mentioned in the last movie at the end that they seem to be trying to go for like a theme, but they like I don't really nail anything because it's too vague yet like too specific on like Gru's scenario at the same time. Well, this one's even fucking worse. Like, it's clearly they're trying to say something about brothers. Like the whole like credit sequence is about the bros bonding. All the marketing for the movie is like, dude, just this is just how bros do it. Like when you gotta learn with your fucking bro. But like, how many people have been in a situation where they have to bond with their 50-year-old brother after not even like knowing about them their whole life? Like, I'm sure this like really reached out to like 2 people, like the 2 brothers, but like who who is this for? You know? Um and this movie is allegedly about Gru and the new brother Drew. It's gonna be so fucking hard to say in the mic. It's dynamic. Um but the thing is, they don't have a fucking dynamic. Gru is like at first he seems super excited to meet his new bro, and then like when they meet, he seems kind of jealous of him because he's more like rich, and he has hair, and he's like happy-go-lucky. It seems like Gru is gonna be like the immature, petulant one, and then Drew is gonna be like though he's like more like wide-eyed and like positive, like maybe he's like a little more mature and experienced in his own way. But then no, Drew looks up to Gru because Gru is a villain and he wants to be more like Gru. So then they have a few action sequences. After the first one, Gru seems to have warmed up to him by a little, but then by the end of the second, they seem to have bonded. But then the big liar reveal happens because Gru coaxed Drew into doing the second action sequence, and then they're not friends anymore. It's bizarre. Also, I always forget this, but this movie has like a fucking 25-minute opener before they even get to the fucking Europe land, wherever fucking Drew lives. One of those fucking British countries or whatever. The dynamic between Drew and Gru is extremely poorly defined. You can't really tell what they're going for with it. And I genuinely don't know what they're trying to say, or like what either of them are supposed to learn, because like by the time the villain Balthazar Brad kidnaps the girls, Drew just immediately forgives him for lying, even though what he lied about wasn't that serious to begin with. But then their fight's like pretty serious. They're both like, I wish I never had a brother. And it's like, bro, it is like not that fucking deep. You guys gotta chill out. And this movie has it even worse with the side plots. This is the first Despicable Me movie with a dedicated Minions B plot, and it takes like 25 minutes, and it is like bafflingly unfunny. Like they're trying to make like the Minions kind of badass in it. They're like, oh, the Minions are like in prison, and they're making everyone their bitch, dude. Fucking look out for the Minions, baby. They're coming, and they're not fucking around anymore. You don't drop the soap and the fucking Minions that are in the shower. Like, look at all these big tough prison guys like fucking cowering, and they play like this serious ass Pharrell song like Freedom while the Minions are escaping. Like, it's not even like trying to be funny for the most part. There's like a couple visual gags, but like other than that, it's just like, damn, the Minions are on the fucking move in this one. And like it takes up so much fucking time, and it's just ridiculous. The girls are completely split up. Agnes's plot is like more mom bait. She's like,
a maiden of pure heart is to find a unicorn.
And then she finds a goat, and then like Edith in this one's not like a tomboy anymore. She's like a millennial self-insert. She sees the unicorn, she's like, yeah, that just happened. Who's gonna tell her? Those who know, right? Like it's awful. There's a bunch of phones in this movie. I don't have a problem with that, but I feel like a lot of characters, I noticed it a lot in this movie, there's like a lot of characters use their phones. It feels like they were trying to like, I don't know, like subconsciously implant, like phone messaging. Genuinely bizarre. I'm getting lost in the sauce here. Margot, she like meets a cheese incel. That's enough of that. And then Lucy, like she wants to be more of a mom to the girls. Which again, that could have been like interesting for a moral perspective, but it has like no focus. She just saves them in the final action scene, which she probably would have done anyways. Like she technically hasn't saved their lives before, but like, I would expect like anyone as capable as Lucy, because she's literally like an anti-villain, to like save 3 dying children. So I really don't think it's that special. Well, I guess let's get a little more into the characters. Fuck this, we're losing the plot here. Gru in this movie is like probably at his worst. Actually, no, he's definitely worse than 4, but in this movie he's pretty bad. He like is just so boring. Like this movie like really starts to treat him as a punching bag. Everyone's pretty hard on him in this movie. He's kind of treated as definitely like the Grinch in the Illumination movie. Everyone shits on him all the time. Everyone's super hard on him, and like that he's just a little guy. He's like slightly an asshole. This movie is like, dude, Gru's got to stop being such a fucking pussy. He's got to tap back into his villain roots. He never really does this. He causes like a bit of havoc in a country he doesn't give a fuck about, and then he goes back to fighting the bad guy. I haven't mentioned the bad guy much yet, but the big thing that I don't like about the little plot this movie has, is that Gru he specifically goes out of his way to try to catch this Balthazar Brat guy. He seems to have a huge fucking vendetta against him. He hates the guy. He wants to catch him, but like, why? Why does Gru give a fuck about this guy? He doesn't know him. He didn't know him before this. He's never mentioned before this movie, but Gru is like so passionate about it. He's like, I gotta get him. He like forfeits his relationship with his brother just to fucking not even capture him, just like steal the thing he stole back. Drew, I haven't mentioned his character much. They flip-flop between him being like a Gary Stu, like perfect overachiever, and like a loser underdog that like Gru has to babysit. And that's honestly it. There's like no definable, other than the fact he wants to be a villain, there's nothing really definable about his character. He's super poorly defined. He's only like 25 minutes of the movie, but he's like, obviously he was huge in the fucking promotion. That's the whole point of the movie. Like, oh, Gru's got a bro now. Gru's got a fucking bro. Also, Dr. Nefario is cryogenically frozen in this movie. For anyone who doesn't know, he doesn't appear like in the flesh. He's in the cryo, and he doesn't have any speaking lines. So, fucking good for him. The bad guy, I don't like that he is like Gru's main motivation because he doesn't have any personal relationship to him. There's no reason that Gru hates him as much as he did. But it's so odd because he's voiced by Trey Parker, to hear the guy who said fucking like be in the Despicable Me movie fighting Gru. He's like a child's actor who's stuck in the past. That doesn't really tie into Gru or anything. It's not like Gru is stuck in the past, like, but it's just pretty funny. Like, I don't know, it's like not really a critique on child actors, but it's just like it's a funny gag that somebody became a villain just because they were a child actor, but as soon as they hit puberty, they were like fucking blacklisted from Hollywood. That's a cute idea, and the fact that he's stuck in the past from the 80s is cute and leads to a lot of fun gags. I do think he's kind of a funny character, especially because he's probably the most competent and like active villain that Gru has like faced so far. Like Vector, most of his power came from like his like lab when Gru tried to break in, but Balthazar Brat seems pretty capable on his own and seems to do a lot of damage. Obviously, in the third movie, the trilogy, you gotta up the stakes. Also, like during the final action scene, this is a little bit unrelated, but like there's a lot of gags at him. They're like, let's get this little 80s guy out of here. Like, let's get this fucking stuck in the past geek out of here. Even though this movie's his 80s baiting, and Despicable Me 2 Rise of Gru, or no, Minions 2, like 80s baits so hard. That movie's like, oh, remember the 80s? So, pretty fucking, I don't know why it's high-roading everybody with this not liking the 80s shit, when this movie and the prequel, sequel embraces that shit full-heartedly. It's trying to be self-aware, just like the Edith thing, but when it does it, it's just fucking obnoxious. The jokes. I don't have much to say on this one. The humor in general is a bit unbearable. The big thing is the wannabe badass Minions side plot, which I've already mentioned, where they try to make the Minions really hard. They don't really go for many jokes aside from a few visual gags. Because unlike in the early movies where a lot of the slapstick came from the Minions like fucking shit up, the Minions are extremely competent in their like prison escape, and like I guess you could consider like the concept of their escape like kind of clever, but it's so ridiculous, and they like there's like no resistance since none of the guards or anything stop them, that it's like it just feels like nonsense. It's like it went too far to come back, The villain is like the only savior of the jokes in this movie. None of the main plot shit is funny at all. And like I said, in terms of like the Agnes, Lucy, and even the Margot plot, a lot of it doesn't even feel like it's trying to be. Also, at one point, the two Minions that go with Gru say boobies, and is this movie like G-rated? I feel like it should be. I feel like just having Trey Parker in it would like exclude you from that though. So maybe it's PG, but I just think it's weird that they say boobies in it. That's like, I feel like that's one step too far from like a shitty Illumination movie like that. Despicable Me 3, on paper, is definitely the worst of the four. It's only really redeemed by the villain, and that's why I like it more than 4, but like the rest of it is dog shit. It is fucking awful. I would recommend never watching it. Ever. This movie has like the most shitty ratings plot ass trap ever. Like Despicable Me 5 is probably gonna be like Gru gets amnesia and then he becomes a villain again. Before his family, like Gru Jr. looks at him in the eyes and he's like, he fucking remembers he remembers his son. Oh, fuck this. We're almost done. Let's just talk about 4. So, like, technically 2 years ago now, they released Despicable Me 4, and frankly, it was one of the most boring fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. I was expecting it to be kind of okay. I mean, I liked the Rise of Gru. I thought it was okay. But it was actually completely dog shit. I hated it. Like, I'm not gonna kill my family or anything, but like, it was remarkably boring. I don't think I've ever been more bored in a movie in my life. And like, it starts with like a pretty good Pharrell song. It's pretty good. We're not gonna go for a structure with this one because frankly, it doesn't deserve it. I'm just gonna say what I think. I guess like the second one had like Happy. I think Happy came out with the second one, like because I'm happy, climb along. If you feel like a room without a roof, that song. And like some people thought like the one like Who Will Groovy Tonight song is like about the Drake beef, which that'd be really funny if that was true, but it obviously isn't. Because they put it in a kids movie. The villain of this movie, unlike even the second and third, is like fucking terrible. He's just like French, and they like actually treat him like a threat, unlike the other 3. He's actually he's cracked. Like he damages Gru, and he escapes prison like with seemingly no resistance, and then like he doesn't die at the end. They just like reincarcerate him. So like, I don't know what the fuck is gonna be different this time, but fuck that. He is like French and that's his thing, but like it doesn't really come up. There's not any like croissant themed jokes or whatnot. So frankly, I don't know why the fuck they bothered. There's also like genuinely I think like 10 B plots in this movie. Like it's literally like this movie is like an Adam Sandler Grown Ups film. When Gru goes into witness protection, and now he's got to do all the new shit. He's just got to do the thing right now. Gru has a baby. Gru is a fucking baby in this one. Like, he has a child. And he seems to be about 1, despite the fact that the girls are, like, the same age. Because, like, they were losing the cute factor with Agnes, so they had to double down. They're like, dude, we got a fucking baby here, too, And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, like, literally, who the fuck cares about adding babies to shit? Like, honestly, does Gen Alpha even give a shit about, like, minions? Because, like, that's who they're preaching this to. Like, if you were 8 when the original Despicable Me came out, you're, like, in your 20s now. Which is crazy, but, like, nobody gives a fuck about these movies anymore. Like, so, you think adding a baby, like, fucking Fairly Odd Parents? Yeah, that worked for them. Yeah, that'll fucking go great. Kids love babies. Like, boys, like, age, like, 7 to 9, which is probably this movie's age range, they fucking love infants. They love Gru being a good dad. They also, like, Gru has to, like, impress his, like, Ned Flanders-ass neighbor. Like, Gru's baby gets kidnapped by the villain at the end. I feel like I alluded to Syndrome earlier, but it's literally the same thing. Especially, like, he even does the thing that Syndrome says he will do, but he does it already. Like, he turncoats the infant. And then, like, Gru just gets him back, which... Like, the baby probably... Actually, he one-rounds the final boss. He beats the shit out of, like, whatever the villain's name is. I watched the movie yesterday. I don't remember the villain's name. It's Maxime. He has a last name they always say, too, but I don't remember it. There's another side plot where Lucy, like, becomes a hairstylist, which I guess that implies that, like, witness protection, they give you a new job, and, like, without training, you just have to, like, fucking pop off at it. Which is, like, so ridiculous for conflict. But who fucking cares, And then, like, the two younger girls go to, like, this karate instructor in, like, a strip mall, and it's, like, kind of a stereotypical, like, loser, like, geek in a strip mall fake-ass dojo who, like, takes his job too seriously, despite the fact he teaches, like, karate to 7-year-old, like, suburban kids. But in that plot, Agnes, like the youngest kid, she can't bring herself to lie about her name, despite the fact that it puts her family in grave danger. Because it's just like, she's too innocent to lie. She's too freaking innocent to lie about her name. Which, first of all, I don't even think lying about it would have like huge ramifications. But also, like, is she dumb? Is she an idiot? Like, she's probably like 8 at this point. She can't tell a lie. You ever met a little fucking kid? They know how to lie. In fact, they do it all the fucking time. So they were truly just trying to like go with the factor, and frankly, I fucking hate it. It's stupid. It's dumb as shit. I hope she fucking dies. I hope Agnes like fucking dies at the end of the next one. I hope that's like the big. I hope that's the big twist, dude. Fuck her. We got a new cute character in town. Agnes. Her fucking design is so awful. Agnes's design is like genuinely one of the most uncanny things I've ever seen. Like, what the fuck is wrong with her bangs? So the only good plot is like this new geek girl next door. They try to like hype her up. Like, I remember, I don't actually watch the new Stranger Things, but this is topical. Like in season 2, they introduced Max, and Max does like jack all in season 2. But they're like, dude, it's Mad Max. She has the fucking Dig Dug score, and I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck about that. Who gives a shit? All right. But yeah, they go like they rob the villain lair, which is weird because like I feel like that's like a weird thing to steal from a villain. That's kind of like black on black crime, right? Like nobody, it's like the law enforcement's gonna show up to stop that, right? What are they gonna do? Fucking arrest him? The villain's gonna call the fucking police? Who gives a fuck? But they take the ferret, and then like the old lady is like a minor villain later. We truly got like an ensemble of villains now. But then they beat her old ass. They kick her fucking shit in. And then the message is like Gru learns his son gives a fuck about him. Nobody actually really learns anything in this movie. This movie is like just a feel-good film. Agnes's plot is never really resolved. Did I mention Margot? She does something. She has a plot. she learns fuck all. There isn't even something trying to be a movie here. This is like they don't mention Drew at all from the third. I feel like this happens in like some other long running series. Well, they're just like completely ignore one of the sequels or act like they went from like one straight to the other. And I can't think of any that do that off the top of my head. Also, I don't think Dr. Nefario is here. I cannot remember, dude. I watched this video yesterday, like I said, and I'm not gonna watch it again. But dude, if you already watched the video this far, man, you've already fallen in the trap, dude. That's enough fucking time for me. I think of people write off later films as being like, there's too much minions and shit. There's too many minion moments. But I think for like more than a few reasons that, like I said, I think that is not true. I think Gru not being the anti-hero past the first one cuts into his character a lot and just makes him another like goofy male punching bag dork ass fuck. Goofy male punching bag dork ass fuck. And also the fact that these movies are like incapable of having a plot at all. Nothing ever fucking happens in 2 to 4. The villains in 2 and 3 are good, but they don't really live up to Vector, especially since Vector was like had such a huge focus in the original, so much screen time. The girls are like just grist for the fucking ensemble mill. They just waste time, and there's so many characters. There's so many named minions now. Like they're trying to like make the named minions a thing. Like there's like a fat one in the 4th one they expect me to give a fuck about. There's like the one that leads the strike in 3 who has like a terrible fucking haircut. It looks like he has a receding hairline, which like I don't even know. Minions just have like little tiny like string hairs. I don't know how the fuck that works. But they're just gonna keep making these movies because the minions were huge for marketing, and the first Despicable Me did incredibly well. But it is such like a random debut film, but I think it was pretty good. Especially since Illumination like immediately cemented themselves as dog shit because they followed that up with like fucking Lorax and Hop, which I need to make a Lorax video. It's gonna be better than this one, I tell you that. If you made it this far, fucking like and subscribe and shit. I'll fucking see it. That's what I'll do.